can get started with our geometric constructions, like learning how to copy a line segment or find the midpoint, like we talked about. That's frozen, isn't it? All right. So before we get started, let's talk a little history lesson. So, geometric constructions. This is sort of the name we give these like pure math things, like doing all this stuff without numbers. And so it was first practiced by the ancient Greek mathematicians. For example, Pythagoras is probably one of the most famous ancient Greek mathematicians. He had a group of followers called the Pythagoreans. He's the guy who the Pythagorean theorem is named after. Pretty important dude. But these mathematicians, they were really obsessed with being able to do mathematics without numbers. They thought numbers, like convoluted mathematics, they thought it was like messy, and they didn't like dealing with numbers. So they wanted to try to do all this stuff in math without any numbers, without needing any of this stuff. So they made some strict rules on how they were allowed to do this math without using numbers. Some of those were, the main rules that we're going to focus on are they had two tools that they were allowed to use. The first tool was the compass. So we'll be practicing with the compass today and learning how to use one of these. Your second rule is your second tool is you had a straight edge. So these were the only two tools you were allowed to use besides like having a pencil, of course, to mark things. So you have your compass and your straight edge. So your compass is used to measure distances and create circles and arcs. It has one pointy end and one marking end, and so we'll need to know the difference between those. It also, these compasses aren't like the most awesome compasses, so they're kind of loose, so try not to, you'll have to be light with them when you move them, otherwise they won't work as well. And then, so our straight edges that we'll be using are rulers, but we want to remember we're trying to do this without using any numbers. So pretend there are no numbers on these rulers. We won't need to use any of the numbers. We won't be measuring anything with them. We're just using them to draw straight lines. That's our only goal with using straight edges. And then we're going to learn how to do some different things like I said, copy a line segment, find a midpoint. We'll learn how to inscribe shapes. So given a circle, you'll be able to put a shape inside of it. All without using any numbers, just using these two tools. This is our goal for this week. We're going to do all these things with just using these two. So everyone's going to need one of these. This.
We're going to need our own notebook of paper.
Yes, you'll need a piece of paper. If for whatever reason your compass is really loose and doesn't hold its shape very well, let me know. I can give you a better one. Or if your pencil isn't sharp enough, I can sharpen them for you. If the pencil is falling out, there's a little screw on the side. You can take and screw it in, and that will make your pencil tighter. You want the pencil to try to be the same. If you close the compass, you want the pencil and the point of your compass to try to be the same length.
Like this really pointy, sharp looking thing.
Yeah, there's a sharp point on your compass, and then there's the tip of your pencil. You want to try to be the same.
Sure. Well, because he's standing right here.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do today, we are going to learn how to copy a line segment. So once again, everyone should have a pencil. They should have a ruler. But in order to copy a line segment, we need a line segment to start with. So I'm just going to draw using my ruler and my pencil. Just draw a line segment.
Wait, just a second.
Just draw yourself a line segment.
So not be an angle.
No, it just needs to be a line. Any sort of line you want. So that is your line segment that you will copy. Try not to make it a super long line because it'll be harder to copy the longer it is. So you should have a line segment. In order to copy a line segment, though, we need to copy it to a certain point. So we're going to take your pencil and you're going to create another point that you're going to copy your line segment to. So I'm going to make my line segment copy over that. Just make a single point somewhere on your paper. That is where you'll copy your line segment to. It doesn't matter the distance between the 2 points.
It's all.
All right. Now, so the straight edge we use to draw lines, to make those straight lines. The compass is used to measure things, to measure distances. But once again, we're measuring without numbers. And so we don't necessarily know what these measurements actually are, we just use them in proximity. So I'm going to take my compass. I'm going to put the sharp end of my compass on one point of my line. So my sharp end of my compass is on one point of my line. I will then take my compass and I will move the pencil end to the other side of my line. So now my compass is covering my whole line. Are we okay with this? You should have your whole line covered by your compass. Now, we are going to pick up our compass. But the thing is, when you pick it up, you do not want it to change shape. You want it to stay that same distance apart, the measurement that you just had. So pick up your compass, and then move it to your new point that you had already drawn, and then set it down. So once again, you don't want your distance from your initial measurement of your new line segment to change. Once you set your compass down, you can draw a small little arc.
So what do you do
Just draw a small little arc
with your pencil?
with the pencil. So when drawing with your compass, typically you want to hold on, it has a little knob at the top. That little part you're going to hold on at the top, you want to hold on there and you'll want to twist it or spin it, and that'll draw your arc. So the thing is, when you're holding onto that knob on the top and twisting it to bend your compass or to make your compass mark, you want to be very light. If you push too hard, you're going to push your compass down, and it's going to be a wider arc than what you want. So you want to be very light. You just need to make a small mark, just small enough so you can see. It doesn't have to be a very dark line, just a small enough mark that you can see. So you have your little light arc. You can then take your ruler, take your straight edge, and then it doesn't matter where on that arc it passes through. It just needs to pass through that arc. So pass through your point and then that arc, and you can make a line from your point to that arc.
Wait, how is it?
And that will be the exact same distance as your original line. So you just copied your line segment, you took it from the piece of paper, and you put it on another spot. And so they are the exact same distance. If you don't believe yourself, you can take your ruler and feel the number to measure it. That is how you copy a line segment using a ruler and compass. So the main thing that's important, because we're not dealing with numbers, the main thing to know is those steps. What are the steps we did? The step number 1, we drew that line. Step number 2, we measured the distance of that line with our compass. Then we took it over to our other point, and we marked it up, and we made our little arc, and then we took our straight edge once again and drew that new line. Any questions about copying the line segment? Pretty easy so far. So on your quiz, I will ask you to do this. So for something we've learned, I'll ask you to I'll give you a compass, I'll give you a ruler, I'll give you a line segment, say copy this line segment. And we just have to copy that line segment. That's all on. Or I might ask you to copy an angle, which we'll talk about yesterday, or bisect an angle. We'll learn a couple different things. So there will be a couple different things we'll need to know how to do. But you want to know those steps. Are we okay with this so far? Copying a line segment. That's probably the easiest thing we'll learn. The next thing we're going to learn how to do today is how to draw a perpendicular bisector. So a perpendicular bisector, we have two words here. Perpendicular, what does that word perpendicular mean? So two lines intersect, they can intersect and be perpendicular. What does it mean when they intersect though? All those angles that they make are 90-degree angles. So when you have two lines that intersect, they make 90-degree angles and all of those little angles intersect. That's a perpendicular line. Now the word bisector. The word bisector, when you bisect something, means to cut into pieces. Specifically, bisector, the prefix bi means two. So like bicycle or binocular vision or bipedal are all things that involve two. So to bisect something means to cut into two equal pieces. So what we're going to do today is we are going to have a line segment. We are going to cut it in half into two equal parts with a perpendicular line. That's what we're going to learn how to do. That's what a perpendicular bisector means. So in order to start with that, we need
A line.
a line, yes. So take your straight edge and draw yourself a line. So we should have a line. You can then take your compass, put it on one side of your line, put the sharp point of your compass on one side of your line, and then take it and stretch it out a certain distance.
All the way or just a little bit?
It doesn't have to be all the way. What you want to do, you estimate where you think halfway is and go farther than that. It needs to be at least halfway, but it doesn't need to be the full distance. So I assume halfway is somewhere around here, so I just want a little bit past that. It doesn't have to be the full distance though. Preferably not the full distance. That would make it not work. So once you get that distance, you can then take your compass and you can make a, without moving your compass. Sorry, I'm still learning how to use this on here. So you have your distance. So take your compass and you want to make a mark above your line. And then you want to make a mark below your line. Make a mark above and then below. I'm messing up. So it doesn't have to be the full mark. You just need one above and below. Once again, with these, with you using your compass, try just to use that little knob on the top and just make a slight little nearly invisible mark. Just one that you can see, but it doesn't have to be a very dark patch. You just want a little mark above and a little mark below. Once you get those two marks, though, don't let your compass change, because it will still need that same distance. So that same distance we'll use here, we're going to use again. What you're going to do is you're going to flip over your compass, turn it around, and you're going to put it on the other side of your line. With that same distance once again. It's holding that same distance, you're going to flip it, and you're going to put it at the other end of your line.
Hold on, I'm gonna take that.
Okay, I'll take it from. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I'm gonna. Things keep moving.
Same distance again. So take your compass, flip the pointy end over to the other side of your line. Keeping that same distance, you'll do the exact same thing. Make a mark above and a mark below. You should get these two intersections.
Are we doing like the halfway, but not really halfway?
Yeah. So it's going to be that exact same distance you used on the other side. So the same distance I used here, I'm using for here. So once again, when you pick up your compass, you don't want it to change. What?
Ah.
But you got it. So once you have your two marks above your line and below your line, you are going to take your straight edge.
No, I have to. I'm so confused. Why is it like a big old circle thing? We're doing like the wrong direction. Oh my lord.
Where?
This is on.
So wait, this you're probably
Why are you in my lap and move on?
So you should have your intersection at the top and the bottom of your line. Take your straight edge. You want to connect those two intersections. Yes. So you should have an intersection up at the top and an intersection up at the bottom. You want to connect them with your straight edge. And then you can draw your line, and that would be a perpendicular bisector.
And do we erase those little lines?
You can't do your lines. And so all these angles right here, little right angles. And that, in the middle,
They all equal 160.
so these are all 90 degrees. The right angle is 90 degrees.
Yeah, but add it up to equal 160.
So two added together equal 180, because it's a line. But all four of them added together is 360 because it's a full. Well, so if you ever need to find the midpoint of a line segment, you can create a perpendicular bisector, bisector line. If you ever need to create a perpendicular line, you can do it's a pretty unique thing you can do. Thank you. Okay. But once again, so it's the steps. That's the thing that's important, just knowing what the steps are. So I'll give you a line segment, and I'll say, hey, find the perpendicular bisector of this line segment. You have your compass, go your rules, and you just need to go through and do it.
I would just say,
So midpoint is the middle, but bisector means to cut something in half. So not only do we bisect the line segments, tomorrow we're going to learn how to bisect angles and copy angles, and make parallel lines. And then you'll learn how to create equilateral triangles. You'll learn how to create a square inside of a circle. You'll learn how to create a hexagon inside of a circle. We'll learn all these different things. But yes, bisector, it does mean find the middle, but it's in a different way. Find the middle halfway, like cutting edge. So let's do that one more time, just so we make sure we know the steps, just so we know what we're doing. If it's necessary, you might want to write. Yeah, to find the perpendicular bisector. Copying the line sometimes is pretty easy. You just take your compass and make a mark again. And then perpendicular bisector is the main one. So once again, you want to start with a line. If it's helpful, you might want to write down what are the steps that we're actually doing in order.
I don't know what I'm doing, all I know is what to do.
So start off with drawing your line. My line towards the middle, so it's easier to see. So you have your line segment. Step number 2 that we did, we took our compass and we put the sharp end at one point of our line segment and measured past halfway of your line segment. So that was step number 2, measuring past halfway. Step number 3, we made an arc go above and below our line. Once again, it doesn't have to be the full arc. If you just want to make a spot right above and a spot right below. Above and below where you estimate the middle to be. But it doesn't have to be that full arc if you don't need to. Then we can flip our compass over and put it on the other side of our line. And do that exact same thing with that exact same distance. Once again, don't let your compass change. Use that same distance. Above and below. You get those two intersections, above the midpoint and below the midpoint. Once you get those two intersections, you can set your compass aside, take out your straight edge again, set it up, and then draw your perpendicular bisector. There we have it, like perpendicular bisector. We have our midpoint, and we have our right angles. You okay with this? All right. Now I'm going to give you a challenge. Cool. I want you to start with a line. Copy that line to a point, and then find the midpoint of your copy. So start with the line, copy it to a point, and then find the midpoint or the perpendicular bisector of that new copy. Think you can do that?
Again?
Yes, but this time you have to copy your line first. Ooh, challenge. See if you can get that done.